Hello everyone, and welcome back to Blizzard's Wake by Phyllis, Reynolds, Naylor. Last we left off, we were on Chapter 1, now we're going to go on to Chapter 2 and 3. Outside Grand Forks, North Dakota. Kate Sterling tried to restrain herself as the school bus passed the stand of popular trees, then the creek further on. She had been doing so well. Don't look, she told herself. But just as they had for the past 3 days, her eyes slotted out. Hungrily, it seemed. The charred skeleton of a house set back from the road, the blackened cinder blocks at the base. The remains of a water heater, a bed frame, a door. It was disturbing, her obsession with it, as though she'd set the fire herself. As the bus drove on by past the rusty mailbox bearing the name Dexter, she promised that the next time they passed, she wouldn't look at it at all, would pretend it had happened to someone she had never heard of in her life. On the torn leather seat beside her, Nancy Barrett chattered on about a spring coat she'd seen at Penny's, and the shoes she'd wear if she bought it. On the subject of shoes, she added, Look! And tucked her skirt behind her legs so Kate could see her feet beneath the seat in front of them. Kate leaned forward to look at the pair of saddle shoes Nancy had bought the week before. Instead of new white laces, they were sporting long black and yellow checkered laces that tied in a large bow. "Oh, you!" Kate said, laughing. Nancy was known for starting fads that soon took over the high school. "And look!" Nancy added mischievously. She pulled open her jacket. She was already wearing her yellow cardigan sweater backwards, with buttons behind. The latest style, but now she sported a necklace that appeared to be the same black and yellow shoelace looped around and around each other, tied in back to make a necklace. "You are too much," Kate said, and they laughed together. Nancy continued her description of the spring coat she'd been thinking of buying, but now Kate's attention was somewhere else. As eager as she had been to look out the window before, she did not want to look now. Yet out of the corner of her eye, in the periphery, where trouble begins, she could make out the single cottonwood tree. Then the Nortons' barn. "Pale blue with a black velvet collar," Nancy was saying, chattering on. But Kate felt the telltale ballooning sensation in her chest, the racing of her pulse. "Well, what do you think?" said Nancy. I don't know about black on you," Kate said quickly. "Only the collar, Kate. Weren't you listening?" The bus made the turn by the Lindstrom's farm, heading towards town, and Kate gave her full attention to an account on the sales at Penny's. Chapter 3. Bismarck. Nothing looked quite the same. A strange feeling to be riding in a pickup, having ridden nowhere at all for the last 3 years. Zeke sat far to the right, an awkward distance from the driver, who steered with his cap farther down over his eyes than it seemed practical. He drove with the easy confidence of one who was intimate with the road. However, because he kept only 2 fingers on the wheel. "Supposed to snow sometime tonight," the man said, talking to the windshield. "That right?" said Zeke. "But it won't stick around long if the temperature stays like this," the old man added. Zeke felt as though he didn't know how to talk to people here on the outside who made conversation about the weather. Weather just wasn't a concern to men who never got out in it much. All he wanted was to be out of the truck and on his own. He wondered if there was a prison insignia on the side. He'd forgotten to notice. "North Dakota State Penitentiary," it would say. "Well, we can use a warm spell about now, I reckon," the driver said. "The thing about winter in Dakotas is that it takes till August to get yourself thawed out." Zeke's lips formed a small smile, but he made no comment, turned his head and looked out the window instead. The truck hit a pothole and the old man swore. When they entered the downtown area and turned on Broadway, the driver asked, "The captain give you your envelope for your ticket?" "Yeah." "Okay then, tell you what. I'm going to pull in on the far side of the station and you can walk to the door over there. I won't be driving you up to the entrance." Zeke was grateful for that. "Sure," he said. The pickup pulled in at an angle, ready to make a U-turn. "Here you are," said the driver. Zeke picked up his satchel and opened the door. "Thanks. Good luck to you now." With a little nod, Zeke got out and closed the truck door. Then he walked toward the Union Bus Depot, like any ordinary man would. A man who had spent the last 3 years milking his cows, or minding his store, or shoveling coal. Inside, he was struck by the variety of clothes people were wearing. Blue and brown and red and orange, short jackets and long coats, caps of every description. Like folks were in a costume. Almost. After the drabness of prison uniforms, his nose picked up the scent of a woman's perfume. something he hadn't smelled in 3.5 years. He's bought his ticket and wondered if he had only imagined it or if the clerk had studied him with a practiced eye. But then when Zeke moved away among the other customers, he saw that he wasn't the only one with a small satchel or a clean shave. He didn't have much color in his face, that was true, not the weather-beaten look of a man who tends his cattle. But not everyone worked outdoors, and as several more people arrived, he was no longer the object of interest. Just one of the crowd, all waiting for bus number 309 coming from Montana. Warm in his jacket, he walked to the large soft drink case beneath one window, opened the heavy lid, and raked through the ice for a Coca-Cola. All that were left were frosty bottles of Orange Crush and the smaller ones of Grapette. He took a Grapette, pried off the cap with the metal opener on the side of the case, then went back it to the ticket window and laid his coin on the counter. He stood against the wall, savoring the tangy sweetness on his tongue. Everyone in the room was going someplace. Folks waiting for them, glad to see them when they got there, he was thinking. Dwayne didn't even know he was coming, and Zeke wasn't sure he'd be there to meet him if he did. And that's the end of chapter 3, and that's where we will end